Welcome, everybody. It's Lisa Norell. This is episode number 88 of the Mindful Marketer live stream. I've been doing this since 2020, back when we were all locked in our houses trying to connect with humanity, and I'm back. I took this year off. I had a few life quakes happen, a small health scare. So instead of trying to just create prophetic volumes of content and insights, I did a little soul searching. I did a retreat out in Santa Fe, and I spent time with loved ones, focusing mostly on working with my clients and getting back into the keynote speaking world. So I'm really happy to be back with all of you here. We're broadcasting this live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook today. So today's session is going to be really special to me, because in the years of running my business now for 25 years, I've had the pleasure of either writing books or contributing to other people's books and reviewing books. So I'm up to 6 books so far. And this book is near and dear to my heart because it was written by Ms. Charlene Li, and Winning with AI is what we're going to focus on today. So we'll start with a provocation. And that provocation for today's show is, some of you might agree with this and some of you will disagree, but how you approach AI is how you shape your critical thinking and how you inform your company's strategy. If your head is in the sand about AI, or you're taking a wait and see attitude about it, it's probably the way you lead your organization, which is wait and see, hang back, or have no culture of experimentation, which puts you at risk. So today you're going to get a preview of what we're going to be doing here in Northern Virginia on Thursday, April 16th, where we welcome Charlene Li in real life to our executive luncheon. So if any of you are visiting the Washington, D.C. metro area, or you'd like to join us and you live in the Washington, D.C. area, scan this QR code and join us for our luncheon and book signing on Thursday, April 16th. This will be a much more in-depth session from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and you'll get to meet CEOs and growth leaders coming in from across the United States. So, space is limited. Hope you can join us and see you there. But in the meantime, for those of you that want to know more about what an AI playbook looks like and how you as a growth leader can build one for your organization and to fuel your career, let's welcome the one and only Charlene Li to the stage. Charlene, good afternoon.
Hello, good to see you, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure. You know, I was looking back at our archives of our shows, and the last time we did a show together was 2022. So
we're way overdue.
We are long overdue. We are long overdue. And you've probably done well over 200 shows on LinkedIn Live at this point, I would expect.
Yeah, I've lost count. I've done it every single week since 2020. So it's a lot of them at this point.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's great to have you back with us for sure. And congratulations on book number 7.
Yeah, I'm starting to lose count in some ways.
Well, you know, I want to ask you, as we're welcoming people here in the comments section today, talk to me about what made this book, Winning with AI, different from the last 6 books that you wrote and launched.
Well, in some ways, it's very similar to my first book because I have a co-author on this one. And I wrote the first one with Josh Bernoff, and the second one was with my dear friend, Katja Welsh. And when I think, I just have this like warm pit in my stomach. And it's just so amazing to work with Katja. I love her so much. We started at Forrester back in 1999 when we were babies. And we literally had babies together at the same time, my second and her first. We have stayed in touch through all of our careers, and she recently moved back to San Francisco right before the pandemic, and we were able to just go deep in our friendship. And so when I told her I wanted to write a book about AI, she just said, I should write this book with you. And I immediately said, absolutely, you should write this book with me. Of course. And it's been a wonderful partnership, and our friendship has deepened. So that's the thing. This has been a wonderful journey because of Katya. So that's a really different experience. And not to say that it wasn't great with Josh too, but when you have a friendship built on 25 years of friendship, it is just a fantastic experience.
Yes. Now, were there times where it kind of tested your friendship? I mean, how did you build some healthy tension in as you were co-authoring the book?
Oh yeah, there was one time in particular when it was at the very end. There was pressure. We had to finish it. We were both traveling, and it hit us that, oh, we have to push through, even though we were exhausted, because this is the last day that we had to work together. I mean, we're still going to continue to work, but we really had to nail down some key parts of the last final pieces of the book to just put the finishing touches on it and move into production. And it was tough. I mean, we were both exhausted, and we just decided to take a minute and gather ourselves, get something to eat and drink, and come back at it and tackle it. And just reaffirming our friendship with each other, knowing that this was hard, was absolutely key. And we are trained together. We have a similar writing style because of Forrester thinking style, and we could call each other, and we had no problem saying, "That's not the way it should go. It should go like this." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that is a much better way." Or, "No, let's talk about this and debate it." So it was so stimulating and so fun, and we have so much respect for each other. And highly recommend, good friendships to begin good partnerships.
Oh, that's fantastic. And one of the things that you do also very well in the book, by the way, I really wanted to show the book today, but I ordered a huge box of books for our April 16th luncheon. And the Porchlight Books team said, it's arriving any minute, any minute. So I wasn't able to do the Vanna White show this beautiful new book cover, but talk to us. There it is. Yes, Stefan, thank you. The one thing I'm a big fan of is making sure that people are clear on definitions. So help us understand how you define AI strategy and versus AI playbook, and how those two terms are different.
Right. I think people often say, I need an AI strategy. And in some ways, that's where I began. But then what we realized was AI is a technology. And you don't have a technology strategy. You have a technology that supports your business strategy. You already have a business strategy. So start with your business strategy. And instead of asking, what can AI do, and have a strategy around it, ask, how can AI serve and support our existing strategy? And it may even change it, right? But at least start with your business strategy, because you're starting then from a place where you know what's going on, you know what your strategy is. And then you can think about how AI can be used to support it. And that's different than having a AI plan or blueprint or roadmap. We call it a roadmap, because the roadmap says, instead of what are you going to do with AI, what is your implementation and technology plan, you're road mapping out how you're going to create value with AI against your strategic objectives. What are the challenges you're going to overcome? What are the opportunities you're going to go and pursue? Because AI enables you to do and achieve your business strategy better, faster, cheaper, safer. So that's the switch here. I've never believed that you should ever put a technology blank and strategy. So internet strategy, mobile strategy, AI strategy. You can think of them as plans and roadmaps, but those are, again, tactics against your strategic objectives.
Yes, thank you for making that distinction, because I love how you started the book with your list of things other people will not tell you about AI. And you really created some provocative, I will call them pieces of a manifesto almost, of things that other people won't tell you. And I know I'll upset somebody when I say this, but everybody can call themselves an AI expert if you are trolling through posts on LinkedIn. And so it's easy to get misled. It's easy for people to post statistics, which they do, many people do often, but never tell you the source of the study or the statistics. So you were very careful and measured about some of the data that you gathered and some of the feedback you got from some top companies like Lego and other companies I know you weren't able to mention by name, but some large financial institutions, and First Heritage Mortgage is listed as one of your research sources, and it's great to see that.
Yeah, we try to get a variety of types of companies and also geographically different. We have a company from GE in South Africa, for example. The benefit of that is just having different perspectives and really focusing less on the technology side of things and much more on the leadership and strategy side. Because people ask us all the time, it's kind of insane to write a book about AI when everything is changing. And like, yeah, but this is not a technology book. This is a leadership and strategy book. And we are building on the shoulders of giants who have come before us in terms of what makes for good leadership and good strategy. Those things don't change. They may have a different harmony in terms of how AI is being used to sing those things, but it's still the same best practices when it comes to leadership and strategy. And so it's a reminder of what good leadership and strategy looks like through the lens of AI.
I love that you have that approach, because as I started the show, I said, how you respond to AI is really how it really informs how you conduct yourself as a critical thinker and a strategist. So AI is really forcing every single one of us to revisit our critical thinking skills, as well as how we shape strategy for our organizations. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's an exciting time and a challenging time. And there's definitely some of that tension there. I also wanted to find out from you about designing an organization to build an AI playbook. What are your beliefs and what are your discoveries around people or organizations who have hired a head of AI, and what are some of the qualities that person possesses regardless of industry?
Well, and again, I think the question becomes, do you need somebody to lead your AI efforts? And what we come down to is, yes, you need somebody who you can point to and everyone can look to and say, you're accountable for driving value with AI. And the key thing here is that it's not about installing and implementing AI as a technology. It's about creating value. And so this person, first and foremost, has to be a proven change agent. They have driven transformations. They know how to create value. They have a proven track record of taking technologies and using it to create real value. They also are technically credible. They don't have to be an expert, because that's why you hire people who are experts at this, but they know how to think about technologies and stay on top of it. And they also are very much a problem solver, and also very entrepreneurial. And the reason why I think this entrepreneurship is so important is that I think entrepreneurs are the best examples of being pragmatic. They're optimistic and also they're very realistic. They know how to build things, they know how to persist, but also know how to pivot. And that adaptability is a very key thing here. But I think the number one thing that you want to look for is not the most technical person who understands AI. It's a person who understands your organization, understands organization dynamics, the politics, understands how people address change, how to address the fears and anxieties that they have around that, and can really build a movement around this need for change.
Whom did you encounter that you thought embodied those qualities and kind of gave you more inspiration to keep writing about that? Because you have a whole chapter dedicated to the whole leadership conundrum.
Yeah, we have two chapters in particular. We have one chapter about how to decide who is going to be your AI leader. And then the last chapter is looking at just leadership in general, how that changes. And we have a protagonist in the last chapter who is Jeff Mangiacoda, who was a former CEO of Coursera. And in early December, like a week after ChatGPT launched, somebody on his team sent him a Slack that said, hey, check out this description of our strategy. And Jeff said, where did this come from? And he said, ChatGPT wrote it. Oh, he goes, AI wrote this whole thing? Like, what was the prompt? And the guy writes back, Tom, describe Coursera strategy. And Jeff's response was, oh my God. And his mind was just blown. Like, this thing is capable of doing this. And by the end of December, again, this is December of 2022, he had written out a plan for how to use AI to direct and change Coursera's strategy and how they were going to win with AI. So by the end of a month, he was just playing with it, getting his hands dirty with it, learning. Again, this is very early on. There were no guides. There were no YouTube channels out there very much about how do you put together a roadmap? How do you use AI to support your strategy? So he was making it as he went along. And I think that's a great example where he saw the opportunity that AI had, and then in a very pragmatic way, started just slicing away at it, saying, how can we use this to help us identify and address our biggest challenges and opportunities as a business? And by May of 2023, they were translating courses into 23 different languages.
Wow.
Again, this is really early on. They were building tools for their instructors on how, so that they could write and create better courses faster. They were using it to evaluate and to recommend courses for people based on things that they had done and recommend areas that they could go deeper into. So they were all in and using just identifying all the different ways AI could really make a difference. And they realized that speed was really important. It is a very competitive space, online learning. There's a lot of people. And they said, we better be ahead of the market and just be learning faster than everyone else and adopting this.
And it paid off.
Absolutely paid off. Again, they had a running start. And I see even all these, we have a great case study of a company called Konecta. And one of the things
from Italy, right?
From Italy, yes.
Italy.
It's a call center of 140,000 people, business process outsourcing. And you would think the first thing they would think about is, how do we use AI to cut the number of people we had? And from the very beginning, they said, no, that's not what this technology is going to be good for. Of course, we could use it to replace people, but we don't have too many people. What we have a problem with is we don't have enough of good people, the right people. So how can we use AI to increase the quality of our agents, of our human agents? So they use AI to reduce error rates by 85%. How do we get people up to speed faster so that they're better agents? So they reduce training time by 30 to 40%. And they use that excess capacity to address this huge long list of all the different things they wanted to do on behalf of their customers. So they went in with a plan. And the third piece of this stool that they said, one was, again, just make people better, find new ways to serve our existing customers better. And the third one is, how do we reinvent our business? So now that we have this AI capability, what can we do to serve new customers, do new things? And they realized that they could take on a lot of the work around building automated workflows with AI on behalf of their clients, which were, again, professional service firms, law firms, people who, again, don't have the capacity to do these things. And they could get into new businesses and find new customers. So they just recently announced that they were going to grow their employee base by 5% over the next 2 years.
Wow.
So that's a very different story than what you hear from people. And I think the biggest challenge that's out there right now isn't the technology, it's the lack of imagination. That if we had these capabilities, what could we do with them? What are the things that we could do beyond just cutting? Because that's about automating existing processes. And that's operating the present, and the present clearly very quickly becomes the past. Versus if you're operating in the future, You're being optimistic, but also realistic about what can happen. You approach AI in a completely different way.
I love the word imagination so much. I was thinking of you when I was listening this week to the brand new Lex Friedman podcast that came out, and how Lex Friedman can get 2.5 hours of Jensen Huang's time, the CEO of NVIDIA. I have no idea, but I applaud him immensely. And one of the words that came up multiple times in Jensen's conversation with him was imagination. And he said, my job is to constantly invite people on my team to expand their thinking of what else, what if, how else, what's the worst that can happen if we experiment with this. And he said, that's a very important role that I play as the CEO of NVIDIA. So speaking of which, we have a question that came in from one of our fans, from Ginger. And we'd love your perspective on this, Charlene. She asks, some leaders are concerned that AI is fostering lazy thinking. How can leaders, as they build their playbook, balance their time between critical human thinking and imagination and AI-powered workflows and decisions?
Right. We get this question all the time. How do we prevent brain rot from happening? How do we stay sharp when AI can do a lot of that work? And I want to differentiate between the work that AI can do around the tedious, burdensome, mind-numbing work that has to be done. I'm thinking things like expense reports, all the administrative stuff. Right? They add no value. And even and then the more imaginative, creative things that you do. And I'm not saying that AI doesn't help, but knowing when to apply critical thinking versus when you can step back. And that's part of our learning process. I'll give something, again, give an example from the book writing process. We used AI a lot to write the book. We used it for research. We did a lot of outlining and brainstorming with AI. It would take all of our various notes and transcripts from our conversations and just put them into some sort of organization. We'd have it to write outlines, and then we'd actually use it to do writing. And it was fascinating. Everything up until the writing was great. It was super helpful because we were having these conversations with it. But when it came to writing, it was just, even though I gave it tons of examples of our writing, it just really couldn't pull together. It just didn't have the reasoning to be able to carry the thought through an entire chapter. It would do a good job on like 3 paragraphs, a beautiful job on 3 paragraphs.
Right.
So we used it to break what we call the tyranny of the blank page. We set our expectations that it could do about 30 to 40% of that heavy lifting. But then once it was on that page, we would have to do a lot of our own work to make it and shape it to the place where we want. But it gave us that little bit of a head start. The technology is going to get better and better, but our critical thinking needs to also improve. So our critical thinking is not a static thing. It is something we have to constantly exercise, and we have to increase our expertise so that we can apply it to the things that AI creates. So it should be making us better, not more lazy. And you know you're doing it when your brain hurts at the end of a session, going, wow, AI really made me think. It really made me think. And so use AI to challenge you, to have a conversation, to ask you questions. One of my little tricks, and we put this in the book, is at the end of every prompt, add this one sentence. Before you start, ask me any clarifying questions you may have. Because instead of just having an answer that comes back,
absolutely,
the AI is engaging you in a conversation to pull more information out of you. Ask it to say, identify my blind spots. Ask me questions to challenge me, make me more vulnerable in my writing, more authentic in my writing. So use AI to challenge your critical thinking is the best way to approach this.
Yes, it is great for challenging our critical thinking. And I always, when I'm really doing some deep work for a client and analysis and then recommendations, I also ask AI to wear the hat of the devil's advocate or the contrarian in the room and give me those perspectives as well. because I want to really make sure I'm coming up with some optimal ideas and recommendations. The other thing I want to add that I will always rely on humans to do is to create that emotional and visceral reaction to my stories. And I did recently get published. I have an article on Substack. If anyone's interested, they can reach out to me and I'll email you the link. And it was a whole article about the neuroscience behind storytelling and how the power of neural coupling is so essential to influencing other people to move forward and to follow you through whatever transition or transformation that you're leading. And AI cannot replace that storytelling je ne sais quoi that we need when we're having these great conversations with people we care about.
Yeah, I did an experiment early on where I gave AI all the questions from a podcast that I was doing. So I had my responses and I had AI be me, say, you're Charlene Li, answer these questions as if you were me. And I took those responses, gave them to other people and had them rate them. And the AI's responses came out to be about 80% as good as mine. And the 20% is what I really focused on. At first, I was really shook. I'm like, oh, I'm chopped liver because AI has all the stuff about me already. Nobody needs me
The
anymore.
archives. Yes.
And it knows everything. Everything I've ever done, it's in there. And when I looked at the 20%, it was because I had put in an emotional aspect of it. I tied into my life experience. It was a half-formed thought of something that I had read recently that wasn't in the AI. And so in some cases, AI did a better job than me because it was more concise. It really understood the question and went deeper. But the 20%, that's what I focus on. That's what we have to focus on. What are the things that make us truly human? We have a concept in the book called the superhuman, where we integrate the intelligence of AI, all the amazing things that AI can do, but also marry that with the things that are uniquely human about us, our empathy, our intuition, self-reflection, our judgment, our wisdom. AI can emulate a lot of those things and it can help us be more of those things, but intrinsically it is not. I think it's a marriage of these two together to use AI to help us become superhuman, which is the marriage of these two things together. That's really amazing.
It is. And I spent several hours looking for research on neural coupling and why storytelling is something we all need to commit to, even when we build the best AI playbook possible. We still need those stories like you told about the Italian call center company, about Lego, about First Heritage Mortgage, and all of these other organizations that are spearheading never before seen projects and programs that accelerate their business strategy. We still need those stories to pull people along and feel that heart-to-heart connection. That's why our show is called The Mindful Marketer. So we have one other question in our remaining moments, Charlene, and then we're going to, again, we always run out of time when you and I get together, but let's hear from Peter in New York. Where do you think we are on the Gartner hype cycle with regards to AI? So maybe we'll first talk about what is the Gartner hype cycle, and then where do you see it right now, former Forrester research analyst?
Well, Gartner was a competition, and great to see you, Peter. Great question. I think we're in a bit of the trough of disillusionment. I just saw the AI doc this weekend, and people have been fed this promise of AI, but when they use it, when they see in the organizations, the promises isn't delivering right now. So I think we're way past the initial hump, and now we're sort of in that trough of disillusionment, frankly. And I don't want people to lose faith. And what I like about the AI doc is that it really was fairly balanced between apocalypse, an apocalyptic view of the world, and the optimistic. And I think he had a term, apocalyptic optimist. It's really hard
the
to
new
say.
movie. The new movie with Tristan Harris.
Yes, Tristan is in it, and he's fantastic. And I think Tristan is a wonderful example of a very balanced perspective on things. And the reason why I think this is so important is I am a firm believer, and the major reason why we wrote this book was you need to get started with AI. And I think the most important thing is that if you do not feel that you are fluent, get to the place where you are fluent. And what I mean by fluent means you know what AI can and cannot do. You understand how to use it responsibly and ethically. You know how to use it in your job. And most importantly, it just feels like it's a flow. It feels like you haven't completely mastered it because you never completely master a language, but you feel comfortable with it. You know, you instinctively reach for it as a partner in what you do. So I think one of the best things you can do right now is to get to that point of fluency and to take the steps needed to give people the tools, the technology, and the training and the time to become AI fluent. And
Yes.
this is so important because if you do believe that AI is going to be the future, then fluency is a prerequisite.
And it's so important if you're looking for some quick shortcuts to at least start to have the playbooks and the templates and the tools. Make sure you get a copy of Charlene's and Katya's book, because Winning with AI has lots of templates to help you get started. And it's just incredibly helpful. And they're grounded in actual companies who are going through this gauntlet and trying to stay out of that trough of disillusionment that you're alluding to there. So I'm also very pleased to announce that Peter Winnick is our book awardee today, Charlene. So Peter, if you're still with us, thanks for being here. Peter's been to some of my past shows, and you'll be receiving a copy of Charlene and Katya's book soon. Go, Peter. So as we wrap up, Charlene, tell us, now that the book has launched, it's out in the world, you've had a little time for self-reflection. How has this whole process of writing the book and incorporating AI into your own life strategy transformed your mindset, your skill set, your decision set, or the tool sets in your life?
Wow, it's changed all of those. I think about where I was even a year ago, and also the technology has changed so much. I'll give an example. I had to take 3 weeks off between January and February to just take care of some family things that were going on, and so I just wasn't active, wasn't kind of keeping up on things. I was waiting for the book to be produced. So, and I came back, and Claude Cowork had launched. OpenClaw was out there, and I went, the world has completely changed in 3 weeks. And I felt incredibly behind. And then the thing that I realized was, oh, I may be behind, but it's not going to take me that long to catch up again. And that's how I have changed my mindset around this, in that in the beginning, AI just felt so insurmountable. And then ChatGPT came along. And I felt that I could do anything with it. And I continue to feel like, oh, there's such amazing things you can do with this. Again, I may be limited in my tool sets and my inability to code, for example, but vibe coding is here now, and I can make apps and do things that I couldn't before. And the decision sets in particular, how I make decisions, I think, again, is that critical thinking of when do I adopt something, when I do not. I have a pretty clear AI stack of what I use, and then just making sure that things fit into that stack without blowing it up. I'm about to go blow up the whole thing with my CRM, so we'll see how that goes. But it's just constantly reinventing, experimenting, trying new things, throwing things away, putting them back together again, and the speed at which it can happen. It's been absolutely astounding. So things look very, very different than when we started writing the book.
Well, I always know who to call when I'm looking for leading edge tools and tips to better run my business or to stay a few steps ahead of our community, the marketing growth leaders community, because you're always wearing your AI lab coat. And I love that about you, Charlene. So you're a natural growth mindset guru in my life. So we're going to wrap it up now. I want to say, Charlene, congratulations. We can't wait to see you here in Virginia, April 16th. So for those of you that want to come on down and visit with us, receive a copy of the book and a luncheon with fellow CEOs or growth leaders. We still have a couple of seats remaining. And Charlene, I wish you all the very best in this period of launch.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been great to have your friendship and support.
Delighted. Thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. And everyone, this marks the end of our show today. Thank you again for staying with me over the years. It's still hard to believe I started this in 2020, but I'm still here and I'm looking forward to our next show. And make sure that you sign up at themindfulmarketer.com if you would like to be notified of our insights or our live events or our streaming events. So until we meet again, folks, make sure you enjoy the rest of your day and go forth and build your playbook. Take care.